Hey guys, this is Justin from LitTube, and you're watching my Face2Face series. So this week, there's been some interesting rumors going around. Apparently, Marshawn Lynch is considering coming out of retirement to be the running back for the Oakland Raiders. But I want to go over some other options the Raiders have to address their running back dilemma, since they got rid of Latavius Murray, who, in my opinion, is a pretty below average talent at running back when you look at him in a vacuum, but he was their starter and they got rid of him. Leaves them pretty thin at the position. I mean, they do have DeAndre Washington, who could step up and potentially be a first string caliber running back, but they probably still want to add depth regardless. So I want to go into what their options are and talk a little bit more about this this free agency signing rumor of Marshawn Lynch.
It's been reported by multiple sources that there's interest on both sides in having Marshawn Lynch come out and sign with the Oakland Raiders in free agency. Now, what this would mean is Marshawn Lynch coming out of retirement. As you all may recall, he retired after the 2015 season with the Seattle Seahawks and sat out all of the 2016 season as a retired former player. Now, in order for this move to even happen, the Seahawks would have to allow Marshawn Lynch to sign with the Oakland Raiders because they still have his rights after he retired. So the Seahawks have the rights. They have no incentive to relinquish those rights unless to just do it as a favor to Marshawn Lynch. They're not going to get anything out of it. But that's what the situation is. So if the Seattle Seahawks decide to release Marshawn Lynch from those rights they have, the Oakland Raiders would then be free to pick him up. Now, we all know what Marshawn Lynch is. He's a known commodity. He's, in modern history, perhaps been the best power running back we've seen. He will be 30 years old this upcoming season. So that is a concern. Whenever running backs get to the 30-plus age, it's expected that they're going to decline. The fact that he sat out an entire year in retirement, it's unclear whether that would help him or hurt him, because, on the one hand, he'd be fresh, but on the other hand, he may be out of shape from, taking a year off. But I'm sure he could get back into shape in a training camp. But overall, I think this would be a decent fit, but I do believe the Raiders have better options, bringing in a younger running back from the draft, perhaps. Now, in this video, I wanted to do a little bit more than just report the free agency signing rumor of Marshawn Lynch to Oakland Raiders. That does have a decent chance of happening, but it's no lock, and I want to talk about the other options the Raiders could use that may even perhaps be better options in terms of solving their running back dilemma with Latavius Murray leaving. One of those options would be to sign Adrian Peterson out of free agency. I don't think this would be a good move, though, because Adrian Peterson, in recent history, has had a lot of serious injuries. I mean, heck, he didn't even play hardly any of last year because he had another serious knee injury. And you just look at that, coupled with the fact that he's a 31-year-old running back. He's going to be looking to get a lot of money in free agency, which he should not get. The only way I see this signing working out is if the Raiders were able to get him at a very low salary figure, and then just make him a combo with DeAndre Washington, who's already on the roster. I could see a 50-50 or 60-40 split between Peterson and Washington, and that being a good combo. But again, unless they can get him on the cheap, I don't see this being a good signing at all. So they have better options. But before we dig any deeper, why don't we just analyze what the Raiders already have left on their depth chart? If they don't add any more running backs, that projects DeAndre Washington as their starter. Now, last year, DeAndre Washington had 5.7 yards per touch as a rookie behind Latavius Murray. Now, that number would likely drop as a first-string running back, but it's impressive nonetheless. In fact, 15th best among NFL RBs last year on that metric, the yards per touch. Now, if we look at DeAndre Washington's athletic profile, his workout metrics, we can see that he has below average burst but above average speed and agility. He also did 24 bench reps, which is 80th percentile for running backs at the combine, and his SparkX score is 82nd percentile among running backs, which shows he has good overall athleticism. His college target share of 68th percentile among running backs shows he has skills in the passing game, and with a 31 BMI, which is 70th percentile, well, that's a metric that's correlated positively with both durability and productivity. And his 6.4 college yards per carry is 82nd percentile. So while DeAndre Washington wasn't particularly dominant at Texas Tech while he was in college, in terms of the amount of overall yards and touchdowns he accounted for his school, athletically he shows a really good profile. He profiles as a do-it-all back. And this is a guy that, honestly, you can have some confidence in as your first-string running back. I mean, is he going to be the best first-string running back in the league? Absolutely not. But he is definitely capable of handling that role based on his profile. So the option of simply just leaving the depth chart as is, having DeAndre Washington as your starter going into year 2 of his career, and then just adding some depth behind him, that's not a bad option at all, and is actually something the Raiders should consider doing if they can't land a good running back in this upcoming draft. So now that we've talked about the potential free agent signings the Oakland Raiders could do, and we've talked about how they could keep DeAndre Washington as their starting running back, let's explore some options they could do through the draft. Now, one of the better options for the Oakland Raiders would be to draft Dalvin Cook, Florida State University running back. Now, this is a guy that was for a while, in my mind, viewed as perhaps the best running back in this class, even better than Leonard Fournette and some other guys. But, Mel Kiper recently said that his draft stock got downgraded to the second round. So originally, Dalvin Cook was projected first round, now he's projected second round. And the reason is because he had a poor combine, mainly. So after his combine workout metrics came in, we found out that Dalvin Cook has poor burst and agility scores, but he has good speed and strength. We also found that he has a 6.8 yards per carry, which is 91st percentile among running backs in college, a 38.8% college dominator, which is 82nd percentile, and that metric has to do with how many yards and touchdowns the running back is accounting for in his college's offense. So most of his profile is pretty impressive from that standpoint. It's just the poor burst and agility metrics that really give him a knock. Now, if we look at his 2016 stats in college, he had 1,765 rushing yards, 488 receiving yards, and 20 total touchdowns. That's very good production. Now, I really think that the Raiders, if this guy falls to the second round, I don't think there should be any hesitation for the Raiders to draft him with their second round pick. They could even draft him in the first round, where they have a relatively late first round pick, and that wouldn't be a horrible idea. But I think the smart move for them would be to wait and see if this guy slips to the second round, and then if he does, think about drafting him. If you miss on him in the first round, and you miss on the guy I'm going to talk about next, after Dalvin Cook, then I'd be fine with just starting DeAndre Washington in the first string. But perhaps the Oakland Raiders' best option is to draft Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon from Oklahoma is currently projected as a third-round pick, but that's largely because of some off-the-field concerns that happened 2 years ago, a domestic abuse-type incident in which he punched a woman. Now, granted, that's a horrible thing that no man should ever do, but let's be honest here, that's something that has pushed his draft stock down quite a bit, and it's something that happened years ago. So there hasn't really been any incidents since then, although that is a character concern. But if we look at Joe Mixon from in a vacuum as a football player, what we'll notice is that, first of all, his season stats from 2016, 1,274 rushing yards, 538 receiving yards, 15 total touchdowns. That's pretty solid production there. Now, at the Combine, Joe Mixon actually had a wonderful Combine. Now, he had below-average burst and above-average agility and strength based on his workout metrics, But what really stuck out was his 4.48 40-yard dash time, which is 80th percentile among running backs. And if you adjust that for his size, taking into account he's a larger running back, his size-adjusted speed score is actually in the 93rd percentile. So for a big guy, he's really fast. And his 6.8 college yards per carry is tied with Dalvin Cook, and that's a really great metric as well. So across the board, Joe Mixon has really solid workout metrics. He has solid yards per carry in college. The only knock on him is his college dominator is not as impressive as Dalvin Cook's, but he does have the better burst and agility compared to Dalvin Cook. Overall, I think these two guys, Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon, are both great quality running backs, and you can make the argument for which one's better, but they're both great. And the fact that he's projected at least a round later than Dalvin Cook, and this is, most analysts saying this, that he's going to go in the third round, whereas with Dalvin Cook, it's just Mel Kiper that downgraded him. So drafting Joe Mixon in the third round, and if the Raiders can move up a little bit, maybe get into a position in the early to mid-third round to take this guy with a third-round pick, I mean, that would be an excellent move by the Oakland Raiders, because Joe Mixon is going to be an amazing NFL running back. I mean, I really just think that he will, as long as he does not have any off-the-field issues at the NFL level, which I think he's past that point now. I think he's turned a leaf. But as long as he doesn't get anything off the field and stays focused on his job, I mean, this is a guy that's going to amaze a lot of people, because if we just look at him as an athletic specimen and what he does on the football field, this is a guy that you could argue should be an early second or even first round draft pick as a running back. But because of what happened a couple years ago, that's not going to happen. So anyway, that's my analysis on the Oakland Raiders running back situation. Make sure to subscribe to the LitTube channel, and guys, I tell you what, this is what we're going to do. If you agree that Marshawn Lynch should be the running back the Oakland Raiders sign out of free agency and bring him out of retirement, I want you to like this video. But I want you to comment on this video with a different option if you think they should do something else. So that's how we're going to solve this. Like if you want Marshawn Lynch on the Raiders, comment if you think they should go another direction with their running backs, and let me know what exactly you think they should do. Thanks, guys. Till next time.